the man who put it all together, the director of the film, critically acclaimed, just won the Silver Lion at the Venice International Film Festival. What a great honor that is. And quite frankly, I'm honored to have him on the show, and I'm a little bit nervous as well. This is a big freaking deal. I never hear from my brother when I put out the guest list for this program. He knows nothing about combat sports. I put out Benny Safdie is going to be on the show. He's like, holy shit, you got Benny Safdie on the show? We did, in fact, get him on the program and let us say hello right here and now to him, as he is kind enough to join us on this Tuesday afternoon. Hello, Benny. How are you?
What's going on? What a pleasure to be here. Man, oh man.
Thank you so much. It really means a lot. In fact, I feel like we actually have a lot in common. You're, I believe, of Syrian descent, a Syrian Jew. My name, Helwani. Right. Is of Syrian descent. My great-grandparents were from Syria, Jewish as well, New Yorker. So I feel like we have a lot. In another life, maybe we're best friends.
Yeah, and it's like, I feel like it's the kind of thing, where there's a shared experience, that comes to play just by having all that built-in history, So I didn't know that about you. That's wild.
Yes, and so I'm rooting for your success, and I'm so happy that you made this film. And I don't know if you heard some of our talking before, but I saw it yesterday, and truthfully was blown away and adored it.
It means a lot coming from like your expertise, because that's something I really wanted. Because I love combat sports. I love boxing. I went to a UFC fight with my stepfather in 2002, and I really wanted it to be as authentic as possible. And I wanted it to feel like that's what it was like. And part of me was like, I wish I was there, And so I wanted to make it feel like you were there by watching the movie, So I had a shirt my wife got for me. It was an early UFC shirt that says as real as it gets on the back. Mm-hmm. And that was my go-to for the whole movie.
As you are making the film and you're so entrenched and you're feeling so strongly about it, you're probably wondering at some point, okay, how's this going to be received? Now that you are starting to see the reviews come in, you're winning awards, the ovation in Venice, shows like ours are talking about it in glowing terms, does the pressure come off? Can you relax a little bit? Are you happy that you feel like you've actually done what you set out to do?
It's interesting because well, first of all, am I lagging, or is that just me?
No, you're perfect on our end.
Okay, good. I just want to make sure I didn't
No, you're great.
You're great. When you call into a show and you hear yourself. Anyway, I'm sorry.
Are you distracted right now? Are you distracted?
I'm not distracted. Okay. But what I wanted to say there is the pressure doesn't really go away, because I really the reason I made the movie is I wanted it to connect with people. So every time it screens, I get nervous, because I want people to respond to certain things. I want them to feel certain things in the moment. And what was really beautiful about the response in Venice was, I don't really expect people to notice it. You try to do certain things, and then maybe it's going to happen and maybe it'll work. And when I got that response, it's like I'm looking out into the audience, and it's like I'm having these 5-second conversations with people just with my eyes, where they're clapping about the movie, but I could see that they really cared about what they had just went through. The experience of being in the mind of this guy, because that's what I wanted to do. And the fact that it connected was really beautiful. But then again, it's I'll go to another screening and I'll be just as nervous. Yesterday we had the premiere, and I could barely eat, before it. And I think it's just because there's a lot of me in that movie too. I really felt like I connected with Mark in a very deep way, and I wanted to tell his story, and I wanted to be truthful to it. And I love sports. I did boxing for a lot, and I've sparred with people. When they ask you to spar, you're like, really, me? Isn't it? It's the best feeling in the world when you get chosen to get your ass kicked, which is such a strange thing. And I remember just that beautiful camaraderie amongst everybody in the boxing gym. I would do it at Mendez, and then it closed in 2019 and reopened just uptown. But I got to know all these fighters, and, I got to talk to them, and they would kind of really explain to me the things in their life, and I would tell them the things in my life. I told my coach Moses about my first son being born before I told anybody else.
Wow.
You really get close when you go down there. you just kind of disappear. And I love the world. And it's so exciting to me, especially when like a big fight is going to happen and you get together with your friend and you watch it. And there was a fight. There was this, Rafael Vasquez is his name. He's a boxer. And he won the Fedleton title this night at the Resort World Casino in Queens. And he was my trainer. And I went out to support him. And he was going up against a guy called Leon Hurry Up Moore. And he was 30-2. And at that point, I guess this was maybe towards the end of Rafi's potential boxing career. And nobody expected him to win. And he hits this guy. I've never seen anything like it. He hits him and he just goes down like a board. And everybody in his corner, I'm with him and his family and friends, and we just jumped up. There's video of it somewhere. It just was an explosion. And it wasn't necessarily that he won that was so exciting. It was that I was connected to the guy in there. And I felt that's the most incredible feeling in the world. And I wanted to do that with the movie, is put you in there with the person. So you feel what they're going through, because they're dealing with a lot of other stuff in addition to fighting, you know? And I'm like, when they get hit, it hurts even more when you're connected to the person, you know?
Well, I think you have nailed that with this film 100%. Can I ask, I remember being at the press conference when Dwayne Johnson announced that he was going to be doing it 2019 November, Madison Square Garden Theater, before a UFC event. At that point, are you attached to it? And if not, how do you come on board?
So at that point, I was not. You know, I think at that point, Dwayne was just, he knew he wanted to tell Mark's story. And then I met with him pretty quickly after that. And instantly I was just like, ooh, I love this. And, you know, it's like I had made a documentary with my brother, Lenny Cook, about a sports figure in 2001, you know, when this documentary was made. And then there was another documentary that I was involved in called Telemarketers, which was the same time period. And so I really felt like I understood this part and time, and I wanted to go back there. And it was just like, I remember talking to Dwayne in 2019 and just really realizing, oh, I know he could really destroy this role. And it wasn't until like later, because like COVID happens and then other projects get in the way, and it just kind of pushed it away. And I found the Nautica sweater.
Wow.
You know, I have it right here.
Oh my gosh. We were just talking about this.
So here it is. The Nautica sweater.
Wow.
You know, wow. I found a version of it.
Wow.
It was triple XL, but it had a blue stripe across it. And I thought there was something really beautiful that Mark, that was his decision, his fashion decision. And I thought that was awesome. And I got that and I sent it to Dwayne with the idea of like, you know, whatever happens with this movie, if I'm involved, if I'm not, I really would love to. But I said, when you become Mark, put on this sweater before, and maybe it'll help you get into his mind a little bit, you know. But he never got the sweater. But now it's great because it's like now I got to recreate it.
Oh my God.
I got it for myself. You know, but.
And those little details, by the way, as someone who watched the doc in 2002 and watched Pride back there, like when we're watching it.
By the way, here, look at this.
That is it. That's the Brad. Is that the Brad Slater belt?
That's the Brad Slater belt right there.
Can you tell us that story? Brad Slater, of course, longtime agent for Dwayne Johnson, told me that he gifted you that belt at the beginning of this.
Yes, at the very beginning, he gave me that, and it was so meaningful to me because, like, it's really heavy, you know, and it's like I've always wanted a championship belt. You know, there's something about it because it's like, right before we started this process. Really early on, we met, had burgers, and he had that sitting on the table, and I just was like, wow. And then I came home with it, and then my like youngest son, who's 6, he saw it. He's like, oh my God! And then he put it on. He was walking around with it, and it just does something. You know, it's great. I love. It's also just like the logo, everything about that time was just awesome. You know. Like Ultraman, like all these, the graphics of that era were incredible, you know. But just like having this thing, you know, just it's like, because it's like deep down, I think everybody always wants to be like in sports in some way, just because like you idolize those people, you know? And so like when I sit down for something like this and get to go on your show and talk about it, you know, or do a round table with like Sports Illustrated, it makes me feel, I'm like, oh wow, I'm kind of close.
Yeah. No, I totally understand. I decided, we were debating this before watching the film among my team members here, whether or not we should watch the doc again before or watch the film and then watch the doc. I decided to watch it again to refresh my memory because I wanted to see how you decided to weave through it and honor it, and then take your own kind of liberties. And I love the fact that I made that decision for this reason, and I wanted to ask you about this. The way the documentary is cut almost feels, it's not like The Last Dance that you see today with, you know, there's interviews and it's all very nice and polished. It almost feels like a home video that's spliced together. And even some of the cuts are not very clean. Like it's like mid-answer. And there's even, for example, one thing that I noticed that struck me at the very beginning of the documentary and the film, there's that rules meeting where the woman is explaining that you can't knee to the head of the grounded opponent. And it starts off with her apologizing for them being late. Like, I'm sorry for keeping you. And you even kept that dialogue in the film, which is a total nothing, like little part. How did you decide to keep some of those little things as a nod to the doc and to, you know, maybe clean it up a little bit?
Well, yeah. So I love the documentary, and I actually just saw John Hyams yesterday, and it was like such an incredible thing because like I wanted him to see this thing because like it's funny that you mentioned those little moments because it's like those are the things that I couldn't believe actually happened, you know? And so what I could do is, I could give that room a more extreme backdrop. I could put it with this, like in this place, the Crystal Ballroom. I could make it a little bit bigger, you know? I could shoot it on 16 millimeter to kind of give it a different vibe, you know? That, cause like you said, it was shot on I think DV or digital, and I wanted it to expand a little bit, because I loved what he documented, and that story could have been lost forever had it not been for him. And it's very meaningful to me that exists. And I want to honor that, like you said. But like those moments of true reality are what I needed to keep in the movie, because that's what kind of makes the performance that Dwayne gives, the performance that Emily gives, and Ryan, you know, I'm basically holding them up to the real thing. And I'm basically putting everything on the line, saying like, all right, did I achieve it? Did I do it? Maybe. There's no net at that point. And that's how I like to operate, you know? And so it's interesting because there are certain times in the documentary where he's talking to John, most likely. Mm-hmm. And I thought, you know, I should make him talking to Dawn, because what's really happening here is there's a disconnect between the two of them. And it's like, I know, how do you explain and it doesn't necessarily have to be with fighting, but how do you explain to the person who you're with and who you love why you're doing what you do? You know, there's a song, the John Prine song, is how the hell can somebody go to work in the morning and come back in the evening and have nothing to say? And I think that's very important. So I took him trying to explain what it was and why he felt the way he did after he just got kneed in the head. And at that point lost. He didn't know it was a no contest. And so I wanted to have him have that disconnect with Dawn. So I'm thinking about how to deepen certain things and broaden the feelings, you know, to connect with an audience in a way that is different, you know. And I also wanted, at the very end, I wanted you to be hopeful. I wanted you to feel really good about it, because that documentary existed at that time and it ended in that time. And the movie doesn't. The movie is now. It's looking back 25 years, sometimes 30. And I wanted you to feel a certain way. I wanted you to feel good about life. You know, I wanted you to experience this movie in such a deep way, but come out looking at the world just a little bit happier. You know, like you could be through a ton of shit, you know, and just like come out on the other side. And isn't that great? You know?
Three central figures.
Just quickly to your point.
Sure.
I remember I was obsessed with finding that scooter. You know, there's a shot of the scooter, and I was just like, I'm going all in. We to build this thing. They didn't, it's like, and in Japan, they don't have a lot of stuff specifically from that time period because everything is always new there.
Yeah.
So they're like, why would we keep something from 1999? You know? So we got that scooter and the shot, it was almost like necromancy, bringing something back from the dead, you know, bring it back to life. Because when that happened and I saw Masao, the cinematographer, filming that scooter and it going off into the distance, I'm like, we're there. We did it. We went back to the time, you know?
Like
and I heard actually what you said about the Pride broadcast.
Yeah.
And that was something that was really important to me was I needed Stephen Quadros in this movie.
Yep.
You know, and there was a lot of conversation because he's a very unique announcer.
Yep.
He has his own style. And I really wanted him to be the voice because he was the voice back then. And I ended up writing 10 pages because I realized I could use him as the narrator for the movie, you know? So when they're coming out, I didn't want any commentary during the fights because I wanted the fights to feel like you were actually there ringside. So there's no cameras in the ring. I stay on the outside, and that's the point of view. If you were there, I'm going to give you the best seat in the house and to feel like what it's like. These things are fast, furious, violent, and you're just like, you're there for the ride. So I didn't want the announcers to come into play because also Pride was very quiet. So you could hear the corners talking and you could hear that and see the micro decisions change as it was going on. But I remember listening to the broadcast and watching these Pride fights. And when he said, this is the first time a Pride fight has ever been broadcast in North America, I thought, I need that to be in this movie because how awesome will it be in a theater in North America to people who maybe have never heard of Pride? To them, this is the first time a Pride broadcast is ever going to be broadcast, you know? So I thought that was really special. I'm glad that you caught that.
All the little details, the Hofstra shirt, full contact fighter, bad boy.
Yes.
I was transported back to that time, which is when I fell in love with the sport, with Pride. We were exposed to it. I know we're running out of time. I could speak to you for an hour here. I just wanted to ask, if possible, 2 more questions. And the first one was, the 3 central figures obviously are Mark Kerr, Mark Coleman, and Dawn, his girlfriend at the time, then wife. How involved are they on the set? Do you have them there all the time? Do you check in with them? How do you do that? How do you balance that act?
Yeah, so Mark came specifically also during the fights, you know, and he came and he taught the fighters and he talked to DJ about how to like do a takedown fundamentally, you know, because I wanted Dwayne to do a lot of this stuff. You know, I wanted to see him because I didn't want to cut away because I knew that would take you out of the realism of the moment. So he's doing this stuff. He's getting punched. And you can't really fake that stuff. There's certain things you can, but there's a specific fight where when he gets hit, he gets hit. And so Mark came because I wanted him to experience the recreation of the Pride arena. And he talked to all the fighters because I thought that would be really special for him to come as this like OG to come in and spread his knowledge. And all throughout the movie, I spoke to him. I would talk to him for 2.5 hours at a time, just because I wanted to get to know him. And I felt it was really important to understand who he was. And I thought he needed to know who I am in order to make this. That scene was.
Oh, yeah.
I was wrecked after that because I know what it feels like to hold on to somebody, to protect them for their dear life. And it's not a nice feeling. And it's very difficult. And when they did that, it was really, I saw it and I was just like, we got that. So we did that part of it in one time. And I said to them in the beginning, if you guys end up on the floor, that would be great. But I don't want to hamstring you in any way. I want it to just happen. And so anyway.
One take? That was one take when you say one time?
That part in the bathroom when he's at the door, that was one take.
Wow.
The rest of the argument was different. I structured it actually how I shot the fights, which was interesting. I looked at it as the same thing. You know, this is a different kind of fight. It's just as physical and demanding. So I shot it in sections, you know, and that was like how we would do the fights. And so I thought, wouldn't it be cool to do that with an emotional argument? And then Emily spoke to Dawn and because she wanted to, again, be truthful to her experience. You know, we're not pulling any punches, but I wanted everybody because they're still alive. And that's very meaningful to me. And I want them to have this movie as a positive experience. I want them to look back. I don't want them to feel used by it. I want them to really be proud of it and stand by the fact that they're standing up for what they felt. And yes, it might be messed up and complicated and toxic, but I want them to be okay with how it's being portrayed. And that's part of why I was in constant communication with them. And the fact that they can come to screenings and be as proud and happy, it really does. That's part of why I made this movie, is I wanted to shine a light on like people like Coleman and people like Mark and Boz, like who might not be as like celebrated in certain ways, but like they should be, because they built something. What exists now came from somewhere. There's a legacy there, and I feel like that's necessary. But like with Dawn and Mark, I really wanted them to feel like emotionally I was being truthful, and that meant I had to like get to know them. And when I showed them, I was really nervous because like they lived this life, and yes, things are changed and they're made broader, and I'm doing things that are different, but I want to get at what was really the truth there. So
I appreciate you saying that about the history of the sport, because I don't feel like we celebrate. MMA in particular does a horrible job of celebrating. The new fans don't know who these guys are, and they should, unlike baseball and basketball. So thank you for saying that. What did you want to say? Sorry?
You had another question.
Yes, I did have one last one. Yeah. I just want to ask about standing outside the subway, handing out flyers like you did many, many moons ago, to be so accomplished, to be so successful now. Look at this. This was a great thing that you posted online. Why do you feel the need to do this again at this point in your career?
Well, I still have it just in case I got to do it again.
I love it.
So the thing is like, part of it is somebody showed me a picture of like, oh, look at where you were and look at where you are now. There was a tweet of that. And they said, what's changed? And I thought to myself, I hope not a lot. I kind of I'm the same person. And to prove that to myself, and was just like, I'm going to go back out there and I'm going to do this because I can curse on this, right?
Sure.
Who the fuck am I? Like I don't have any shame. I'm going to go out there. I want people to see this movie. And I said to A24, print me 1,000 flyers because I'm going to hand out every single one. So I spoke to 1,000 people that day, and I went on the subway. I went to every movie theater. I did it. And some people looked at me like I was crazy and they just threw me off. And I think it's important, to feel that, because like at the end of the day, it's like, I just want people to get out and see it. And it was really, I really relished talking to people and getting to have those conversations, and standing out there and doing this was just, it was fun for me, and it was fun in the sense that I liked when people looked at me like, get away from me. I'm not interested. And then I'd be like, I made the movie, and they're like, I don't care. And it's like, great. And so it's like, there is an element that like, I thrive on that kind of stuff. And I really just wanted to like let people know that like, hey, please go see my movie. This is meaningful to me. I care about it. And I care about it so much that I'm going to do this. I'll hand out flyers. I got nothing else to do.
I love that. There's a great lesson to be learned there. Congratulations, Benny. Sincerely.
Thank you.
I have always said that The Smashing Machine is the greatest MMA documentary of all time, and now you have just made the greatest MMA film of all time. And
my God.
I don't think that there is a close second, and that is sincere, and I think the rest of my team agrees as well. So congratulations.
That means, because coming from you, that's huge, man. Thank you.
And it's not recency bias. Truly is. So congratulations. Enjoy all the success that comes with this, and thank you so much for coming on the show. A huge honor for us.
It was my pleasure. This was great, and I hope I did justice to the realism of the fights, and I hope that when people who are fans of the sport go see it, that I did right by you.
You did.
So thank you.
You should know that. October 3rd, out nationwide and around the world. And of course, I should end by saying, go Knicks. I think you're a big Knicks fan like I am.
Oh my God, yeah.
So big year coming up for us.
I can't wait. I'm scared because it's like, I don't like going in as
no.
like a favorite.
Yeah.
We're underdogs all the time.
Yes, always.
So I don't want to get into that. I'm like, hey, don't even talk to me about that.
Thank you, Benny. All the best to you. Really appreciate it.
All right.
Congrats.
Thank you. This was great.
There he is, the great Benny Safdie, the director of The Smashing Machine. And man, I hope you guys enjoyed that as much as I did. What a guy, what a character, what a personality, what a spirit. And really, I can't say this enough. If you are a longtime fan of the sport, you will adore the movie. If you're a newer fan, you will love and appreciate the movie. If you are not an MMA fan or combat sports fan, you're probably not listening to me right now, but tell your significant others, tell them that this is worth their time, because it really was a wonderful film and a wonderful trip down memory lane. Thanks for watching this video. Before you go, if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button for us. Also, give us a thumbs up, leave a nice comment. These things go a long way. And while you're here, do check out the rest of the channel. We've got live shows and full interviews, clips, and a whole lot more. We're doing big things here, and we appreciate your support very much.